Bugoma is a pristine, lush tropical forest found in the mid-western Uganda districts of Chikube and Hoima. Measuring 41,000 hectares, exactly 330 square miles, it is among the 5 biggest forests in Uganda by size and importance.
Bugoma is one of the biggest forest reserves we have in this country. In terms of position, I think the position is less than 5 in terms of size. And even the conservation, what we call the conservation importance.
However, this natural forest is now under threat to wipe it out from encroachment for farmland, illegal logging, mining and charcoal burning, among others. The most preeminent and emerging threat that could accelerate the process is from big businesses if these go unchecked. In 2015, Hoima Sugar, a relative newcomer in sugar production in Uganda, was allocated 22 square miles and began to clear 5,779.7 hectares for a sugarcane plantation. The area of the forest was leased from the Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom. The kingdom believes it has the license and rights to do anything on properties that were returned to it following the restoration of kingdoms in the 1990s.
Even if part of that land they claim, if we open up and find that it is in Bunyoro or Sugar, whatever, where there are trees and there's a forest, by law, then they're not supposed to cut any tree. We have guidelines to that effect.
Out of the 22 square miles allocated, the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, cleared the company to plant cane on what the Environment Impact Assessment Report described as grasslands. This is an aerial video taken from Nsozi showing part of the forest that NEMA has decided to refer to as grassland, which is part of the forest land lease to Hoima Sugar Limited. Ironically, the National Forest Authority NFA that managed part of the forest which is now being cleared disputes the area as an important woodland and part of the Bugoma forest ecosystem that should not be replaced with cane. This development has also brought to light how government agencies that are mandated to protect and conserve natural forest reserves appear to have become helpless to stop the destruction or have been complicit in directly abating it. The country has an environment protection force made up of police and the army charged with the task of preventing illegalities on existing natural resources. However, these have been allegedly accused sometimes of abating illegal logging and charcoal burning and sometimes being directly involved. It's the heavy presence of the different security forces that have made it difficult for the journalists to access the forest being cleared by Hoima Sugar. Besides Hoima Sugar Limited and the numerous small-scale encroachers, Bugoma Forest still faces threats from big and powerful business entrepreneurs and the politically well-connected. For instance, MZ Agencies has laid claim to 2,000 hectares of the forest. A local leader, the LC3 chairman of Changwali Sub-County in Chikube district, claims ownership of 2 square miles of the forest, a huge chunk indeed that could do more damage to the well-being of Bugoma. A group of retired army veterans known as Tulipona, or the Survivors, is in the process of acquiring an unspecified acreage of this pristine forest. These are just a snippet of how Bugoma could disappear for good and the huge threats that it faces. Bugoma Central Forest Reserve was first gazetted as a forest and important catchment for Lake Albert in 1932.
As I talk now, National Forest Authority has signed a memorandum of understanding with Bugoma Primate Conservation Project. We are looking at in-depth research. There's a research station somewhere in the forest. And we're also trying to habituate chimpanzee for tourism purposes.
The numerous rivers that flow out of it are vital lifelines that feed and replenish Lake Albert. It is also an important habitat for some of the rarest and endangered wild animals and birds, not forgetting ancient plant and tree species. Rare forest elephants have now been confirmed in Bugoma, adding to its value as a tourist attraction. Mang Bay monkeys, chimpanzees, and the Franklin Nehana, which is an IUCN red-flagged bird, are among other wildlife that count Bugoma as their home.
Coming down to Bugoma, we have endangered species listed under the IUCN red list, including the chimpanzees. Under the CITES, even the baboon is another monkeys, the black and white, they are listed under the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. Now, these animals, some of them are very, very difficult to move, even if we wanted to. Chimpanzees live in the trees. Chimpanzees live in the territories. They have families, they have heads of families, they have wives and husbands. If you pick them from here, take them to any other forest, they will fight and kill each other. So what does that mean? That once the forest is lost or degraded, we can't pick the animals. But also technically, dating a chimpanzee is very difficult.
As research into Bugoma forest continues, and as new discoveries of previously undocumented animal and plant species are made, it is increasingly clear that Bugoma needs to be converted from a natural forest into a protected conservation area. To save Bugoma forest means that it should go the way of Windy Impenetrable Forest and Chibale Forest, which were converted into national parks in the 1990s. This way, the forest will be secured from all forms of encroachers other than when it remains under the National Forestry Authority.
We really feel Bugoma is a candidate for serious thoughts and serious conservation.
Until 2015, Bugoma had existed without Ugandans giving it much thought. Little was known about it as one of the biggest natural forests in existence in the country. Then it emerged that Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom had allocated 22 square miles of the forest to be cleared and replaced with a sugarcane plantation. Since that decision, Bugoma Forest has now become a matter of great dispute between the Kingdom, Hoima Sugar Company, and the National Forestry Authority that is charged with conservation and management of forests in Uganda. The dispute is over who actually owns it and whether they have the right to destroy the ancient tropical forest. There have been battles in the High Court and now the Appeal Court. However, these have not resolved the problem, and unfortunately, destruction of the forest continues.
Most of the courts in Uganda, they take ages to make decisions. Secondly, there are decisions that have been made, which we are trying to engage with development partners and the government to ensure that, first and foremost, the court said this land that is contested is outside the Central Forest Reserve. But today, the government is trying to open boundaries. So what land, how did they reach a conclusion that actually this land is out Bugoma? So we are requesting government to urgently make public the cadastral maps, which are the basis of determining boundaries.
Hand in hand with this is illegal cutting of trees for timber and charcoal that continue unabated. Vague jurisdiction has also added to the loopholes that have allowed the destruction to forge ahead. Destruction of natural forests has not stopped despite the existence of conservation agencies like the National Forestry Authority, the Uganda Wildlife Authority, and the National Environment Management Authority. Neither have the robust laws that set them up been of any help. Matters are not helped by the Lands Ministry that seems to issue titles in protected areas of the country. Indeed, it is feared that some, like NEMA, have abated the destruction of natural forests and other natural resources through issuing of dodgy environment impact assessments that appear to give a clean bill of health to man-made activities. But the story on the ground is different as local residents and communities report changes in their relationship with the forests.
I'm very sorry. Turenga bataka bari kurabira hano omukama narabira kuki kuri abe cyangwa tukareba ngishibira tibaci tora kucinga bikisho kigume nko kuki ninga bachabahinje bakoresha ninga bahinje bachihinga.
The quality of water has declined. Importantly, they are beginning to conflict with wild primates that live in the forest due to habitat destruction and the animals searching for food. While the Constitution and laws mandate natural forests to be protected, the new owners have taken titles as a license to clear and use the forest area as they wish for sugarcane farming. As soon as the Bugoma forest problem emerged, the Water and Environment Media Network WEMNET spearheaded efforts to save Bugoma forest from destruction with support from various stakeholders, including civil society organizations, and development partners to join the cause. WEMNET's member journalists, with this support, have published and broadcasted numerous stories to bring the plight of the forest to the public domain, however, with no major breakthrough. For their efforts, these brave journalists have even landed in police cells and faced the wrath of the law enforcers without clear charges being preferred against them.
The press is crucial to bring to light problems. The press is crucial to contribute to identify solutions, because there must be solutions. Of course, we cannot just give up and say, okay, there is a conflict, and we understand that it's a conflict. We don't fully understand that the objective of this visit and this mission is exactly to get an understanding of it.
The efforts have slowly resulted in a spirited campaign that has seen more civil society organizations come on board and have since formed a coalition codenamed Save Bugoma Campaign, and has also mobilized local communities around the forest to protest Bugoma. This reluctantly has caught the attention of the central government. In September 2020, a directive was given to have the boundaries of the forest reserve redrawn to separate what belongs to the NFA and what belongs to the Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom and Hoima Sugar Limited.
3 weeks now, Cabinet issued a directive. The effect that the agitation of cutting down the trees in Bugoma forest must stop. Claiming ownership, which has gone through courts of law, must be clarified. The boundaries must be made clear.
Work to realize this goal began in October 2020 in the presence of some stakeholders, including representatives of government, the security forces, and the community. Unfortunately, the process came to a halt until further notice for unclear reasons, yet this could have made a way towards a firm resolution regarding the protection of Bugoma Forest. The Court of Appeal, where the dispute over ownership between NFA and Hoima Sugar was awaiting decision, suffered another setback. One of the members of the quorum of 3 judges withdrew from the hearing, citing a conflict of interest. This has led to further delays in resolving this issue. Today, there is now a growing impasse which is proving dangerous and ominous to Bugoma Forest. The lack of resolution and vagueness of the situation has accelerated the clearing and illegal logging and charcoal burning, and this has the helpless communities worried. Efforts to seek government attention have been rebuffed, and some have suffered at the hands of security forces meant to provide protection for the forest.
Kandi ekindi nihije abasirikare bije abaturo mu kibira bakoreramo program zabo embaho zisharwa amakara gokibwa ibintu bigenda titukamanya ni mukono cyo guru kubikora nubwo mukama nubwo muhindi noho kuza kubosya amakara noho kushara embaho kandi wobwe ko abaru kukoreje mirimo kuba rukwije nebitoki byitu byibwa nebintu byitu abaru kupima marwa mu baraganyagwa amaduka bagihame byo kurya babirya abanyaga aho kwartine no kuba nabamanya.
This confirmed by trucks laden with timber or charcoal that have been impounded by authorities coming out of the area that was assigned for sugarcane growing. Development partners like the European Union, which have funded forest conservation activities since the 1970s, have, as a result of the activism, come forward to offer support and demand for action.
The aim of our visit here is to learn more about this conflict, which has been going on since 2016, and to come up with our assessment of what has been happening and where we can support to protect Ugandan environment.
It is a mark of the importance that we attach, and I take the liberty of saying that you seem to attach as well to this relationship, going somewhere, identifying areas, problematic areas where there are challenges, and then trying to understand those challenges together and trying to federate efforts to see whether solutions, way forward, can be identified. I have no difficulty in saying that if I have to choose between a primary forest, a beautiful forest, like the one we haven't seen, by the way, yet, and a plantation, whatever, pine trees, eucalyptus trees, sugar, or whatever, I choose for the forest. I have no doubts about it.
But for now, it seems all that can be done is to highlight the problem by adding their global voices. All may seem to be lost, but these WEMNET journalists are determined to keep the issue of Bugoma Forest alive. As happened recently, They are ready to face down any intimidation, whether it means being illegally detained. Ultimately, all this will end when the wanton destruction of Bugoma forest is stopped and what has been destroyed restituted back to what it was before the events that unfolded in 2015.